Hello survivors, we are so glad to be here today, and we are so honored to have someone that I've been able to meet through something that was tragic, yet something that has helped so much. This is my new friend, Liona Brown, and she is an ISR instructor. So I'm just going to tell a little bit of my story, and then I'm going to turn the time over to you. But as many of you know our story, we had our little daughter pass away from a drowning, and it was devastating, it was awful, and I just wish that I would have known the things that I know now. After we had our miracle baby, I found out things that I had always thought I was doing right, but then understanding that I was doing it completely wrong. So when we had her and she was turning almost, a year old, I was like, I gotta do something. She's starting to walk. Things got really scary for me.
Yeah.
And so we had to really look into what needed to be done differently. And so I'm so happy to have you here today just to kind of tell other moms, do you know what? Everyone else kind of has the same idea of what these swimming lessons are or what they do for the children. And I want you to be upfront and clear with these people on this is a survival thing. This is not just about learning to swim and do these things. It's about teaching these kids to save themselves.
Yes.
And I wish, because I almost feel like she would have been here today if I would have done this earlier. So we're here today to educate you, to help you understand why it's so important, and hopefully to give you a better sense of what ISR is and what you can do for those little babies who are close to water. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Shannon. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. And you are not the only parent to say that you just didn't know. It's very common to, I didn't know as a parent myself. I have teenagers now, or close to being teenagers, and when I first discovered ISR and I saw this little baby swimming across the pool, I was like, how can this happen? An 18-month-old swimming and floating across the pool. So you're not the only parent.
I was that parent going, there's no way Layla could have swum. You don't think that that's possible.
No. So I just want to tell everybody, it needs to be known. We need to educate people that drowning is the #1 cause of accidental death in children ages 1 to 4. It's a very sad statistic, and last year in Florida, we had nearly 100 drownings, and that just breaks my heart. We've never had so many, and I just feel that we can do better with our education, better at showing parents the options that they have. Though I love and believe in ISR, it is a multi-layer approach. And as you've gone on your journey to realize this, we have steps in this process, the layers of protection. And when each one of those fail, you have a lapse in supervision. These are wonderful parents. You're a wonderful parent. But sometimes a lapse in supervision. It's not like you didn't watch your child. Children all the time. I remember one time my daughter got away from me and started drawing on the carpet. Yeah. Very harmless. Didn't like the fact that she drew on fabric marker on my carpet. Couldn't get that out until I changed the carpet over. But these things happen. They're so quick. We have barriers, fencing, pool door locks. Those things can fail. Someone can leave it open accidentally, unlocked. And then we want to teach children to save themselves. They're their own flotation device. They're their best option when all these other layers fail.
And let's be honest, it's not just happening to moms and dads that have pools in their backyard, right?
Right.
This is happening to people just next to a pond or vacation or...
Exactly. You live next to a lake, or even a neighbor has a pool. And you don't expect it. I've heard stories where my child was sleeping in the crib. They've never gotten out of their crib before. And this was the first time that happened. And the first time it ended up tragic. So I just want everybody to know, it's not because it's, parents don't watch their kids. The kids are quick. They get out of things. They even know how to climb over fences.
No, kids are too good.
Yeah.
They know too much.
They're smart. They watch others. They watch how you unlock things, and those baby-proofing things where I try to get the door unlocked and I can't use it, but the child can get right through, and I'm like, well, that didn't work.
Seriously. So what is ISR? ISR, what does that stand for, and what is it?
It stands for Infant Swimming Resource, and we've been around, amazingly enough, for over 50 years. 1966.
Why don't we know about this? It's so crazy. Why don't we know enough about this,
1960. I think with each generation, it just kind of, we have to keep educating each generation as they become parents. And knowing better and doing better, kind of like car seat safety. You know, we had car seats that were just like these little boxes you stuck your kid in, and now we have these very ultimately safe, like, they're amazing, you know? So we need to do better, is what it is. So ISR is a type of survival swimming lesson. It's a brand, really it is. You can find all types of swimming lessons. You can find survival swimming lessons, but ISR is a brand. And we work very hard on the type and quality of our lessons. Children learn 10 minutes a day, no more than 10 minutes a day.
Why is that?
And then 5 days a week. So it's multifaceted. We have, children have a short attention span. I mean, how long does your child sit there and really focus on something? And some lessons are hard work. So we focus on that 10 minutes, learning small increments, and they learn best reinforced on a daily basis.
Well, I'll tell you this, when Olivia went, at first I was like, 10 minutes, what's that going to do, you know? And she went for her whole 7 weeks. So she had to have 7 weeks to actually get it mastered. And 10 minutes is a lot for a baby. She wasn't even a year old. She started at eight months old.
Yes.
And she finished almost at a year mark. And those 10 minutes, she would come into, you know, the car and she'd just be so tired, you know, because they work them hard, but they're just trying to teach them the repetitiveness of it too, right?
Yeah, it's hard work, and it can be hard for the parents too. You don't want your child in for more. Yeah. Like, did you really want Olivia having more than 10 minutes?
I didn't actually. I wanted to cuddle her and love her.
Yeah. So children, when they don't communicate. So the way they communicate, and they cry. They tell you when they're hungry. They tell you when they don't like something. They tell you when they're hurt. You know, they tell you when they're tired. So they have all types of different cries. When they come to lessons with me, I'm a stranger. It's a very overwhelming sensory experience to be in the water. So they cry because it's new. They're like, what does this stranger keep doing to me? Why am I on my back? Why am I in the water? Why am I grabbing the steps?
All new.
And we use sensory-based learning. So the same way a child learns how to walk or ride a bike. They're using some muscle memory. They're learning by doing. But with an ISR instructor, they're learning in a safe environment. They're presented a safe option to use that skill successfully. So we teach small increments, but we also make sure we tailor it to each child. We make sure that each of those presentations, they're going to be successful, because that's how confidence is built. That's how the whole sequence is going to be built when a child rolls on their back and breathes and floats. So it's amazing. Just small, tiny little increments.
Yes, I love that. So when she graduated, I was so impressed because Olivia, she dealt with tantrums. Oh. And that kind of scared me, because I was like, she's like throwing her legs up. I've never seen it before, but she was doing that as a way of saying, I don't like this. But she got through that and was able to just be like, wah, wah, like barely crying, but allowing us to know that she was in the water, right?
She was in the water. She's alerting you. You know, that's not a bad thing either. But she wasn't in pain, right? Not at all. No. So, and before lessons, I have to say, she's the cutest thing. She comes in all smiles. The minute I take her, she's like, oh, it's work time.
I know.
The minute I let her out, she's all smiles again. And
she's waving at you by and everything. I know.
And that's what we look for. As ISR instructors, we are highly trained. We take about 8 weeks of training. 6 weeks is totally in the water, but you wouldn't believe the amount of book work that we do, the amount of time we spend on learning emotional behaviors of children. We're definitely looking at that. It's not like we're insensitive to crying kids. We just know that crying doesn't mean fear. It just means they don't want to do something, and that we're showing them where to go and what to do, and the confidence is going to come.
Yes.
We are taught behavioral psychology. We are taught anatomy and physiology.
So this is like a whole thing that you're like education for yourself,
huge.
Right?
People don't realize how much time we spend learning and then refreshing each year. So as an ISR instructor, I do have to refresh every year. Sometimes in the past that has include in-person recertifications with a senior master instructor. Oh, wow. And they give you tips and show you videos, and you get to meet a bunch of instructors, exchange ideas. While
kind of like being a teacher, you continue to get better and better as time goes by.
And we always continually have that support year round, because not every child is the same. So on average, children learn in about 6 weeks. Children that are infants learn to roll back and float like Olivia. Once they're a little older, they're walking, they're ready for the next step, we teach them to swim. They're propelling themselves in the water by scooping the water, kicking their feet. Then they roll on their back, rest, breathe, flip back over, swim, and repeat that till they get to the wall steps or stairs, or they stay in their float because that's their safe spot. The float is the essential part of ISR, but we do teach swimming. We teach older kids. We teach kids of all types of abilities. So it's amazing what a child can learn, especially when you're doing it that honors sensory motor learning, because that's the best way. When you have muscle memory, you're going to remember it.
Yes. And so I remember learning about muscle memory, and one thing that made me really frustrated was, the flotation things that we all think. And I was kind of told differently. And so my baby, using, what are they called? Puddle jumpers,
arm floaties.
So she was taught to basically, first thing that she'd do in the water, probably since I wasn't around, she got in the drowning position. And that made me super frustrated, because I'm like, I've been teaching her that the whole time, but I didn't know. Right. And so that's what we want you parents to know, is like, there's a better way out here. Yes. Teaching them the truth about what the water and what the water can do to you if they're in the water by themselves.
Yes, and we are teaching young kids. We're not teaching them to tread water. We're not teaching them strokes. We're teaching them to survive. So there's a difference. And also their body composition will never allow a child of that age to really stay in a treading position. That's a lot of work. They end up immediately just dropping and doing these like bicycle kicks in the water. So what we teach them is how they can maintain their body postures, a horizontal swim, and then they're going to get somewhere. They have their head down, they're kicking their feet, they roll on their back horizontally. So that's the way that they need to be taught, just because their body composition is not ready. When they're older, by all means, yes. But we need to teach them the right way right off the bat. So when you're putting them in a puddle jumper, it's giving them a child to say, oh, this is how I'm supposed to swim in the water. So they don't realize the puddle jumper is what's holding them up. They think they're bicycle kicking, propelling themselves, and they're floating, their head is above the water.
They don't them, right? Not the
they don't have to learn breath control or anything. So when they take it off, like they're gonna go eat or something, and somebody leaves the gate unlocked. I mean, this has happened. They just they think that they can swim. And they're like, yeah, I want to go swim. They've been taught it's a fun environment. So we just want to do better. We want to teach them. We have a saying in ISR. I love it. Skills before thrills.
Oh, good. I love that. That is so
I love that. I hashtag that and everything. It's not any credit to me, and another ISR instructor came up with it, but it's totally awesome. True. You have to teach them what water is all about. And I love getting them the sooner the safer, because if I get them sooner, I'm teaching them their very first swim lesson.
How young is it that you start them?
6 months. And
6 months? Is that crazy? And do you know what? I saw some videos of her teaching like a 6-month baby, and it's floating. It's crazy awesome. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. They can do it though.
If they're mobile, they can get places. And we all know that. I know the statistic is between ages 1 and 4, but if they are mobile, we do know people. Yeah. So
I was so grateful. Like, I was gonna wait till like later, because I didn't know about Liona yet. But I'm so glad I did it 2 months before, because now it's swimming season now.
It is swimming season.
And our pool, the kids are always out there now, and I'm so glad that I have that confidence. Like, of course, I'm still gonna supervise and do all that stuff, but just in case something did happen,
yes,
that she could save herself. And she was floating for like 3 minutes. She is not even years old, and she's floating for 3 minutes, just.
Her float is amazing.
Yes, it's really great.
She stays there. She's awesome.
So we have a question here. They said, what inspired Liona to become an instructor?
I don't have any like big great story, but I think I was just led. I was just led. Basically, one of my friends, I saw her 18-month-old swimming and floating across the water. I'm like, wow. And I was always afraid of water. We had bought a house when I was pregnant, and I was like, we're not getting a pool. There's no way we're getting a pool. So I didn't have a pool. I had a neighbor that had a pool, but really, I'm like, I didn't know what to do with her around the water. So when I saw this, I'm like, we got to do this. And it took a little convincing for my husband, because, sometimes you look at the price and you're thinking, oh, that's a little pricey. But for what you get in the short amount of time, you're getting the amount of lessons in a roughly 6-week period of time. And I convinced my husband, and when I saw these lessons and I saw how methodical it was, I saw how each lesson was geared toward my child, not somebody else's child. Every lesson is different.
It's individual, which is so great.
It's totally individual, because they're not all the same. So
you've seen that, haven't you?
I've seen all types of stuff, and even at, my almost 10-year mark, I'm going to see things that I've never seen before. So when I watched this instructor and the care that she took, and it wasn't, throwing the babies in the water. They were
I think that's
giving,
what some people think, is that ISR is like, oh, see if you can swim. And I've noticed that you are so gentle, you are so soft with it, it's very controlled. Like, I've never once thought she's gonna drown my baby. And I love that about you, because you've been so patient and kind and loving towards her, and she knows she's safe. I know she's safe in your arms. I've never had to question that. And that's a big thing that can really help moms too, just knowing that they're in good hands. They've been trained with the best,
Yeah, and we look at each child and we're like, okay, they were successful in this. What can I do to challenge them a little bit and they still be successful? Because, that's how they're going to get confident too. If we start throwing things at them. Yeah. So to finish off my story, so I was just like, this looks like an awesome job. I was just doing corporate, like, finance stuff, and though I'm a numbers cruncher, and that's fine with me, but I was like, this is what I got to do. So it took me a while, the courage to tell everybody, like, I'm not using my degree. I'm gonna go get training in this and do this for a living. Are you sure?
Because nobody knew what it was. That's why.
Nobody knew what it was. Yeah. They knew I put my child in it, and then they're like, you want to do this? Okay,
It's inspiring, actually. After we left our last lesson, we're like, that'd be so neat to do that, but it takes a person to do that, and lots of patience too.
And I just moved forward with it. There was a period of time where I didn't think they were going to place me, because they don't want to oversaturate instructors. There was an master instructor that moved in, and we talked, and she's like, yeah, totally, come on board.
Amazing.
So she invited me on board. I felt like at home with all the instructors, and
so great.
We have a community which is very positive, and I really, really love it. I love the support I get. I can't.
You love it so much better than your corporate job?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. The thing is, she comes with a smile on her face every time. She's going 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, she has a new person coming to her. And she always has a bright smile on her face. And I just love knowing that there's things we can do. There's protection out there that we can train our kids to save themselves. That's what I say. Like, these classes have literally taught Olivia how to save herself. Yeah. If things were to happen like this.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd want to tell anyone that's listening for the first time, or just kind of how they would get started? How would they get started?
Absolutely. How you would get started is, I can't teach every single child.
Come on. What are you taught? She's going to travel out to see you.
I am in the west coast of Florida, and I kind of stay in my area, and I have an overwhelming amount of students, and we're always looking for new instructors in different areas. Some are a little saturated, others can definitely use them, but we have, I don't remember the last count, but we have probably like 600 to 800 instructors nationwide. Wow. Nationwide, and we have like instructors in the Latin American countries.
So do they look online, or how do they find?
Yes, they can go to infantswim.com, and right on the front page there is a place where you can click and find your instructor in your location. And you type either your zip code or your city, and you can find all the instructors in your area. You call each one has different availabilities, times, dates that they teach. And if you don't happen to find someone close to you, or they're a little far, it's worth the drive.
I drove 30 minutes every day there and back, and it was worth the 10 minutes for sure.
It's worth the drive, but seriously, if you have someone that's out of your range or you can't really get in with them, consider becoming an instructor if you know somebody that would be a good fit for this. We have a careers page also on infantswim.com, so I highly encourage that. It's the best thing I've ever done. Now, got to tell you, it's a lot of training, but it's totally worth it.
So what's your page on Facebook, so people can kind of follow your story?
My page, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram.
What's it called?
And my webpage is ISRswimbabies.com.
Same as Facebook and Instagram?
Yep, Instagram and Facebook. Just type in ISRswimbabies.com and I'll pop up.
And you'll see some amazing babies floating, and has a cute little baby just floating on the top. You can see her halfway in and halfway out. It's a really cute little picture.
I get some good pictures every now and then. I'm starting to get better with my photography and video skills.
Yeah, we're all learning, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as you guys know, we do this every single week. We have Inspires, or we have a Shares for survivors. And I just want to say thank you for saving babies. As we all know, you guys, saving our child is the number one thing all of us moms and dads want to do. Some of us have a harder story than others, but if you can today, Just think about what you have in front of you. Your children are the most amazing things that you will ever have. So do things to promote their safety. If I was to do it all over again, I wish I would have put her into ISR lessons. So please take it from us, somebody who's had to walk the hard road with so many other parents, but ISR is the way. It's amazing with just the growth that you see with these children and stuff. So thank you so much. And all of you guys,
for having me.
Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.